As I think about what happens in our quantum life and full coaching program, I keep coming back to what my clients really want. And for them, it comes down to three critical outcomes. Outcomes I believe you deserve: attuned clarity, harmonious focus, and resonant contribution. Let's start with outcome number one, attuned clarity. This isn't just about clarity, it's about clarity of purpose. It's of why we were put here on this planet. Most people I meet want that kind of clarity, but there's so much noise in their world that they struggle to hear the voice that's bubbling up inside of them. The key question here is, how do I shed every layer of noise? How do I shed every layer of noise to hear my unique core calling? How do I shed every layer of noise to hear my unique core calling? In terms of attuned clarity, people land somewhere on a scale of 1 to 10, from red to dark green. And most people are in this red zone of clashing static. Actually, not most people, some people. Flashing static. I had one client tell me, Tom, I feel I'm pulled in so many different directions. I wonder if I'm moving in the right direction anymore. People are overwhelmed with noise and can't hear what's true for them. But where I tend to see most people is in this amber zone of restless seeking. Restless seeking. They're constantly searching. They're reading, they're taking courses, maybe even getting coaching. But the more they consume, the more confused and frustrated they feel. Can you relate to that? Yeah, now some people reach this light green zone of emerging truth. Emerging truth. Sounds nice, doesn't it? Yeah. Here, you're finally starting to see yourselves and your patterns more clearly and beginning to trust in your instincts. But doubt still creeps in from time to time. I had a guy say to me, I feel like I'm on the right track, but I still find myself questioning it sometimes. It's like I can see it, but I haven't fully settled into trusting it yet. And then there's the rarely reached dark green zone of soulful conviction. Soulful conviction. This is exactly where you know who you are, which gives you absolute certainty of direction. It's this deep, unshakable knowing where every decision happens with ease and with certainty. So, on this scale of attuned clarity, where are you and how does that show up in your life? Okay, there's no judgment here. And what would be different? What would your life look like if you were in the dark green zone, dark green zone of soulful conviction? Yeah, yeah. Awesome. Let's move to outcome number two, which is harmonious focus. Almost every day I hear people talk about work-life balance, and it usually comes with a sense of guilt, frustration, and just to be real, fatigue. They're tired. They're constantly trying to juggle priorities, shifting back and forth between work and the rest of their lives, and feel like they're always shortchanging something or someone. But here's the truth: work-life balance is a myth because 99% of the time, life isn't balanced. It's dynamic, it's moving, which by definition means that you're out of balance, which means you're failing 99% of the time. That's why I believe we need a better paradigm. Not balance, not perfection, but whole life harmony, where your energy moves intentionally across all seven dimensions of your life over time: faith, family, friends, health, wealth, work, and fun. The key question here is, how do I conduct my entire life? How do I conduct my entire life in rhythm with what and who matters most? How do I conduct my entire life in rhythm with what and who matters most? Let's walk through this scale of harmonious focus. Some people are in this red zone of aimless drift. Aimless drift. They're busy. They're chasing endless to-do lists, but it feels more like they're just spinning their wheels than getting anywhere. They're scattered, stretched thin, and they feel disconnected from what matters most. Now, most people I know, though, they land in this amber zone of steady execution. Steady execution. Here, they're getting things done and they're keeping up with responsibilities for the most part, but it feels more like survival mode. I had a client say to me, Tom, it feels like I'm treading water, and on a busy week, man, the wrong things hit or too much hits, and I feel like I could just drown. Can you relate to that? I think all of us can at some points, right? Now, some of us reach this light green zone of natural rhythm. Natural rhythm. And here, your priorities are finally aligning with purpose, and you feel more in control. Life's starting to flow. It still takes a lot of effort, though, to sustain that kind of focus. And frankly, you get tired. And then there's this dark, rarely reached, actually, dark green zone of rapturous symphony. Doesn't that phrase just sound nice? Rapturous symphony. Yeah. This is where all areas of your life, all seven of those dimensions that we talked about, faith, family, friends, health, wealth, work, fun, they all flow seamlessly as one, majestic and beyond what you thought was possible. And when I'm operating here, it feels more like play than work, almost effortless. So, given the scale of harmonious focus, where are you and how's that showing up in your life today? Okay. Again, there's no judgment. It's just where you are today. But let me ask you this. What would be different? What would your life look like if you were in the dark green zone of rapture or symphony? Yeah, that sounds amazing. All right, let's move to outcome number three, which is resonant contribution. I had a client, very successful financial advisor, once tell me, Tom, I feel like I'm winning the game, but I wonder if I'm playing the right game. I mean, he was achieving a lot, but his achievements just weren't fulfilling. So the key question here is, how do I create that joyful, soul nourishing impact that only I can create? How do I create that joyful, soul nourishing impact that only I can create? And that's what resonant contribution is. It's that kind of unique impact that brings you the peace of deep and true fulfillment. Now, some people are in the red zone of thankless toil. Thankless toil. They're working nonstop, but it never feels like enough. They're burning out, but they can't see how to slow down without losing all the momentum they've built up. And, let's be honest, we've all been here at some point, right? Yeah. Most people I know, though, are in this amber zone of hollow wins. Hollow wins. On the outside, they look successful. They hit their goals. But on the inside, it feels a little empty. They're achieving, but they're not contributing in meaningful ways, in the ways that they want. Can you relate to that? And then there's this light green zone of meaningful momentum. Meaningful momentum. Here, you're doing work that matters, and you're seeing and enjoying the impact that you're having in people's lives. But it still feels like a lot of effort. I had a guy say to me, I can feel the momentum building, but man, it still takes a lot out of me. And finally, there are a rare few that reach this dark green zone of radiant force. Radiant force. This is the Jedi Master, though. This is where your purpose driven life fuels you as much as it uplifts others, maybe even more. This is powerful upward spiral filled with joy and peace as you step fully into who you are and what you're called to do in this world. So let me ask you this: on the scale of resonant contribution, where are you, and how does that show up in your life? Okay, all right. And what would be different? What would your life look like if you were in the dark green zone of radiant force? Wow. Yeah. Now that sounds amazing. So, in closing, I just have two questions for you. Given where you are on the scales today, what's at risk if nothing changes? Yeah. Doesn't sound fun, does it? And let me ask you just one more question. What would go through your head if I told you that the mindset, strategy, and tactics that got you here, that got you all the success that you've gotten so far, wouldn't get you to the dark green zones of soulful conviction, rapture, symphony, and radiant force? Oof. That's a big oof, isn't it? Now what? Well, let's talk about now what.